I grew up in Denver, Colorado. I actually never went to church or never was told about God, but for some reason it was just always on my mind. I used to actually line up my stuffed animals and I would play communion. I would get dressed up and have a plate with bread and pass out communion to my Bronco Bear and Teddy Ruxpin and my glowworm. And even today, I don't really know where I got that idea from. My parents got a divorce when I was 10 years old. My brother and I moved with my mom. We actually moved to a little neighborhood not far from where I had grown up, but there was a church right in front of the little townhouse that we moved into, and I was super excited. I was thinking maybe this would be the time that I would end up going to church, but we never went. I would ask if we could go, and we just were busy, or I'm not really sure what all the reasons were that we didn't go, but we never ended up going to that church and moved around a bit. Finally moved into a neighborhood where I went to middle school and high school. My brother and I, we celebrated Easter and Christmas with our family. Of course, I knew the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus quite well, but I think I had an idea that there was something more to those holidays. I know that people went to church, that there was something more to be celebrated. I had never actually heard about Jesus' birth or Jesus' crucifixion or resurrection, but I would celebrate those holidays with presents. In April of 1999, a few miles away from us, the Columbine shooting happened. I can remember that day clearly. I remember going home that afternoon, a senior in high school, for the first time thinking about death. I had never really considered what happens when you die, and I remember that night in my room thinking, you know, where would I go if this happened to me at my school the next day even? I didn't know who God was at all and had still never been in church, but I wrote a note out. I asked God what would happen to me if I were to die. But I just continued with my life, moved about an hour away to college and still never going to church. I moved up my sophomore year with a car, and so I thought, you know what, I have a car, I am gonna go to church. I remember saying, God, help me find a church, and maybe I can find some friends who go to church also who are Christians. And then I said this line, maybe I could find something like a youth group, but for college students. I got in my car and drove around. It's a little town, so I figured I could find something. And as I'm driving down the road, I saw a large building with a cross and thought, this has got to be a church and I'm going to go in it. I saw a sign that said service at 10. I looked at my dashboard and it said 9:55, so this was the place that I was going to go this morning. For the first time in 19 years, I heard about Jesus, and the pastor was talking about not having a relationship with God, and I had never heard about what that meant for what our lives could look like. And as I sat in that back pew, it was like everything that I had wanted to hear for 19 years started to just flood my mind, and it felt overwhelming. And so I went home that day, and our dorm phone rang, and I answered it, and it was someone on the end of the line, and he said, you know, I'm calling for Lisa Eggert. Would you be interested in coming to Chi Alpha? And at that time I had no clue what Chi Alpha was, and he said these exact words, we're kind of like a youth group, but for college students. And I could not believe it. That was what I had prayed for, which I'm like, yes, sign me up for that. It's hard to even explain, but after August 20th of 2000, I have had a relationship with Jesus that I know has changed the outcome of the rest of my life. After graduating and getting my master's, I did college ministry for several years and then moved here to Richmond to be the kids pastor. It's just amazing to look back and to know that God had His hand on my life. My name is Lisa Eggert, I played church when I was 5 years old, and now I am a pastor.